this is like a cutthroat business. I'm selling this for $100, you know, for example.
Right.
And the next person's gonna sell it for $95.
Right.
So I just put in so much work, and this guy's just gonna come and do that shit to me. Or there's fake bills. There are people that are gonna try to rob you, stab you. These are assets, and people are after them. People are gonna try to come and get you.
Sneakers have never been in higher demand than they are right now, and that means money. Reselling sneakers, as we know it today, to cash out on increased demand started as a side hustle for a few select kids a decade ago, but is now a billion-dollar business. If you haven't gotten in already, you might have missed the wave, but that doesn't mean it's over. There's a ton of money to be had. The only question is, can you hack it? Welcome to From the Ground Up. I'm your host, Pete Forrester, and this episode we are looking at reselling. We've talked about reselling a lot. Our previous shows, The Drop and Flips and Bricks, got into the nitty-gritty of this sometimes opaque practice, but today we're going to get a little more personal with people who resell and how it affects the industry at large. Both Tyler Blake and BK are knee-deep in reselling culture, doing it themselves and facilitating the practice for others over the course of their careers. Few better are positioned to recognize all the moving pieces. What up, guys? I'm here with BK, influencer extraordinaire, and Tyler Blake, marketing consultant. These are fancy titles, but I'm sure you guys have seen them around on the gram and other places. So we're talking about reselling today. Do you guys think, just a couple of years ago, reselling was, at least from a retail point of view, it was a four-letter word. You know, it was like something that people weren't proud of doing. You couldn't really talk about it if you went to a store. But now I think everything has changed, and it's sort of a respectable way to make money. What do you guys think?
To be honest, I don't think that much has changed. It's just the way in which people do it has changed. You know, the days of people kind of lining up behind stores, exchanging money from certain areas. Now I think a lot of it's just kind of moved online, right? Retailers have pulled away from doing stuff first come, first serve. It's too dangerous. Now you have these digital raffle systems. So now the reseller who is out, outdoors hustling still exists, but a lot of times it's some kid behind his computer that's running proxies and bots and everything like that and kind of controlling all the online stock. So it's definitely changed, but I think it's become a lot more prevalent. Everyone's doing it, everyone's hustling, everyone's selling their own bot, whatever it is, so.
To a lot of consumers, reselling will almost always be a four-letter word. There are those people out there that are just real sneaker enthusiasts, they're collectors, they don't like paying resell, but it's just something that now that people have caught on that almost anything will resell, that there was already a market there for sneakers being resold before the hype really was there. And now it's just more of like a system where people who have access have an easier time getting to those who have the want for that product or just the disposable income just to buy it just because they want to.
What's up, guys? I'm here with Eric Pavone from Rare Pair, owner, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for having us.
Anytime, yeah.
So what you guys do here is you allow people to come in and sell their product through you.
Correct. Like we can sign shoes, or we buy the shoes directly from the person.
Okay.
And then put it out the market.
So do you consider yourselves as a store like a reselling store, or?
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. That's the game.
Right.
That's the whole point of this. This is where people come to get stuff they can't get anywhere else.
Have you ever had any problems with any retailers or brands who have sort of?
Hell yeah.
Yeah?
We were the first store with Red Octobers, and their legal department called us.
Right.
And they told us, get rid of that stuff, blah, blah, blah. It's not supposed to be in the market.
Right.
And then like a few weeks later, they dropped it. Shit like that, I don't know. But other than that, since we don't have an account with any retailers or any brands, we pretty much do whatever the fuck we want.
That's what I was gonna say. It's like, because Nike can call you, but like, what's the threat? Show me something.
Yeah.
We sort of talked earlier about what the weirdest thing was, but show me something that you got that's crazy that people wouldn't expect when they come in here.
Oh, I mean, when they come into like a basement, they're not even expecting to see anything at all. So when they walk into here,
especially not a waterfall.
Yeah, a waterfall or a bike. Or,
right.
I don't think people expect to find shit like this in the basement, like the most expensive shoe like around here.
So before you guys were here, I know that there was an eBay store
There was another sneaker store here before.
Okay.
It was exclusive.
And you were reselling before?
Not at all.
No, not at all.
Never.
So how does that start for you? How are you like?
It didn't. I was in between semesters for college.
Yeah.
And one day I was just smoking weed and my friend called me and he was like, yo, you want to open a store because you had mentioned it.
Right.
And I just had a room full of sneakers. I had no clue how this worked. No idea. I just used to buy sneakers from resellers, but I had no idea how any of this worked.
So anyone can become a professional reseller basically overnight.
Yeah, right away. If you just gotta want to do it.
Yeah.
What I think people don't understand is that there's a lot of work involved. For certain shoes, you have to go through a lot of shit to get them. You have to maybe bribe some security guards, some employees, camp out overnight. You know, so when you're paying resale, you're paying for somebody's labor, somebody's extra work.
What was something you didn't expect about this business before you came into it?
How many fucking grimy people there are in this shit? This shit's like not easy. This is not a friendly environment for anybody. So when people sell like on apps or people put shoes in stores, they're not dealing with a customer. Anybody that works retail can relate. I had many jobs, so I can relate with everybody. This is like a cutthroat business. I'm selling this for $100, you know, for example.
Right.
And the next person's gonna sell it for $95.
Right.
So I just put in so much work, and this guy's just gonna come and do that shit to me. Or there's fake bills. There are people that are gonna try to rob you, stab you. These are assets, and people are after them. People are gonna try to come and get you.
How do you think reselling has changed the way that brands operate and the way retailers operate?
I mean, they're just influencers for the brands. If you stand on the block, the same block as Supreme, talking to somebody on the line, they'll kick your friend out of the line. But that whole brand is based on reselling.
Right.
So it's like, oh, we don't want it, but we want it. The brands need it. Nike needs it, Adidas needs it, everybody needs it. So they'll have like bait shoes that I call bait shoes. They'll release something really, really hot in a colorway, make it unattainable to 90% of the world, 99% of the world, and then they'll release something very similar to it like a few weeks later and like, oh, you can get this one. They're sending the really rare shoes to their fucking YouTubers with like millions of followers. So they need those people. Now, I don't think people care about the shoes because everyone is reselling for kind of embarrassing actually. Like in the apps, I see people making like $10, $20 above retail. So I want those people to go die, go fuck yourselves. Like you guys are like not resellers. That's not resellers. You guys are, go get a job if you guys want to make $10, $20. Like, fuck out of here. What the fuck is that? You guys are ruining it for everybody. If you guys want to resell, you guys are gonna see what's gonna happen on the apps because all those really low prices are not gonna last a long time. They're gonna learn eventually, like I'm gonna give it maybe a few months before the people making like chump change start making real money because it's there. They just have to be a little bit more patient.
Special edition sneakers are now only released behind a litany of barriers. They're put out in very limited numbers and often at only a few stores who have their own raffle systems or hoops to jump through for purchase. With those restrictions comes added value. These shoes are worth more than the retail price before they even drop because the demand far outweighs the supply, and there are always collectors willing to pay. That demand means customers are willing to wait outside, sometimes for weeks at a time, just to secure their pairs. Retailers have followed these trends and countered the practice with outlawn camping or raffle systems in person or online. Law enforcement in some cities like New York monitor the situations and routinely shut them down. But before it got out of hand as it did, it was often just a couple kids spending a few nights together in a type of brotherhood. Highsnobiety's own George Ocampo has a primer for us on how this small community turned into something that attracted the sights of billions.
Long before the internet turned reselling into something everyone can jump on, we saw the first signs of reselling in metropolitan cities like New York. As local mom and pop sneaker shops in the 90s started to become keen to the level of demand there was around their footwear, they started to bend the rules a little bit, selling hype pairs under the table and backdoor to locals before the shoe's actual release dates. And they did this all at a premium, of course, meaning you kind of had to throw some cash to grease your pair out the door, if you know what I'm saying. Although it might sound a little shady, the situation made sense to ease the financial burdens of these local retailers suffering under the press of big chain stores while offering peace of mind to regulars who really just wanted a pair of sneakers anyway. Nike was not really fond of this and began pulling accounts at suspected retailers, further driving this exclusive and elusive nature of the sneaker game. On the flip side, sneaker-obsessed consumers were always just looking out for themselves, and for good reason. If you've ever gone home empty-handed after a sneaker release, you know that it totally sucks and it pretty much makes you want to do everything you can to make sure it never happens again. And this is kind of how the sneaker reselling community began to take shape. Competing with overwhelming demand, sneakerheads had to figure out how to not just secure one pair for themselves, but a second pair to stock, and then a third pair for the homie that had work that day, and then a fourth pair for, reselling because you just dropped money on like 3 pairs of sneakers and you probably need to make some money back. It wasn't really making about big bucks, but you definitely needed money to play the game, and that was kind of how you leveled up, stacked your cash, and got the pair that you really wanted. As technology evolved and the internet connected the world at the turn of the century, the sneaker market really blossomed. Not only were fans able to follow what went down in different cities, but they also had new access to products that they never even saw before through platforms like eBay and forums like Nike Talk and ISS. All of a sudden, sneakerheads in like Chicago were seeing never before seen Air Max colorways that were exclusive to Europe, or like crazy Asia exclusive releases, and the only way to get a sneakerhead overseas to help you out was to either pay them the right price or have something of equal value to trade them, further feeding into this sneaker aftermarket situation. Bringing these online communities to life, consignment stores like Flight Club began popping up in the mid-2000s to give us the blueprint for physical retail completely built on reselling pairs from successful sneakerheads. These one-stop shops for rare feats would attract true fans, celebrities, and tourists, while the business model answered a lot of questions for both resellers and buyers. At the time, there were a lot of SB Dunks, Jordan PEs, and Yeezys that could demand some serious price tags, and a middleman authority would really help make everyone feel better about the whole thing. This consignment model soon made its way to digital, as online platforms like GOAT and StockX offered the same authentication services to sneakerheads across the globe, allowing kids who didn't happen to live near a RIF or a Stadium Goods to buy and sell Yeezy 350s with confidence from the comfort of their own bedroom. All of these reselling tools, combined with the brand's seemingly endless barrage of collaborations, new models, and other exciting capsules and releases, has made reselling sneakers reach an all-time peak right now and is truly a viable option for fans all over the globe.
Even just a few years ago, the sneaker community was relatively limited. You might be able to find a home for a few dozen pairs of a very limited edition sneaker you grabbed, but now in 2018, anyone looking to flip pairs for some extra money can have a ton of product, sometimes hundreds of pairs at a time. To make that happen, resellers have to form relationships with retailers so they can secure all those pairs, or even figure out some strange alternatives. I sat down with my friend Gerard Clark, who used to manage Kith's Brooklyn location and then worked at the Adidas store in Soho, to get some insight on how reselling looks from the retailer's point of view. What's up, guys? We are here with Gerard Clark, formerly of Kith and Adidas, and now a consultant in his own right. Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
So, you started in retail, sneaker retail, before reselling sort of really popped off to be what it is today, and have been there as it's gone from like a 4-letter word nobody wants to even admit the fact that they're a reseller to now people are building businesses off of it. Can you sort of give us a rough timeline or like rough sort of experience of what it was like to see how it changed?
From my experience, always being in that sneaker culture, I feel like it started with ISS, slowly gathering, but more people are like trading shoes on there. Some people you could just buy it right out, but it was not called reselling. It wasn't called. It was like, I had a shoe, I'm not wearing it, I just got rid of it for a price. Or I traded it for something better. He had what I want, I like what I want.
Right.
When I got into retail, when I got into Kith, it was more like, I'm buying a shoe to just sell it, to make a profit. And it kept going to that extreme. Some shoes did better than others, and we just felt like it was always on the negative, it was always on the unspoken. Like, that guy I feel like does it, that guy maybe does it, we don't know. We're not gonna label anybody.
Don't want to know.
Yeah, don't want to know, don't want to label anybody. And it just became really aggressive.
How did it sort of change the way that a store or your stores interacted with customers, going from reselling isn't much of a thing to now this is why people are coming to the store? How does it change your relationship with those customers?
It changes your mindset really fast because you don't know. Some people are genuine and then some people aren't. Some people will tell you the truth, like, I just need that shoe to flip it. And then some people are really like beating around the bush.
So when we worked together, there was a conversation that was happening behind the scenes, which there was some frustration at the brand that resellers were making more money off of the product than we were making off the product, right? So if we were selling something for $150 and resellers were selling it for $400, a guy who didn't work on the project, who didn't do any of the marketing or anything, strolls up or, at most waits a week in line on a project that we had worked on for a year, it makes $250, whereas we're making $75. Where do you land in that conversation?
Margins are difficult to figure out, but you always have to, even raising the price, you're not doing anything. You're gonna make more money yourself, but they're still gonna make more money. And then it's supply and demand. More people want it, more people after it, the higher the price goes up. So where do you win? You're gonna sell a shoe for $300 and then somebody's gonna sell it for $6, $7, $8. You make $250 now, they're still making $5.
Right.
You're never gonna win in that margin era. It's just a game of what are you gonna do? Are you gonna backdoor the shoe yourself? Are you gonna sell it yourself?
Maybe.
Then you get your money.
Right.
Then you get your money.
Thank you so much for coming through.
You're welcome. Thank you.
If you wanted to buy or sell something in the aftermarket, it used to be the Wild West out there. Resellers could use message boards or sites like Craigslist or eBay to sell their products, and anyone could basically charge anything they wanted for whatever they had. There was no such thing as a real street value since there was no regulation. Until Josh Luber started Campless, that would later morph into StockX, it was impossible to really track what a fair price for a pair of shoes was. This was good and bad. If you were reselling, you could pull one over on a chump, make some extra money. If you were a buyer, you could get a steal. But the opposite is also true. A buyer might get hosed on overpriced shoes or fake product, or a seller could get a chargeback or some other scam. But now stores like Flight Club and Rare Pair can act as a middleman to ensure fair prices and authenticity. That's it for this episode of From the Ground Up. If you enjoyed this episode, we want to hear from you. Comment below with the rarest pair of sneakers you ever bought on resale or resold yourself. And while you're there, don't forget to like and subscribe and check out past episodes like the episode about customs and our debate on Air Max Day. Until then, keep it fresh.